Hello everybody and welcome to Basic Go. Last time we did something different. We had our first episode of how not to play Go, and today we're going to keep studying, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to study one of those Joseki that appeared in that game. So remember when in that case it was white, but one of the Joseki was large knight's move from a star point in the corner, and the opponent invaded. So we're gonna see how that invasion goes today. Okay, let's get started. So when white invades, there are two directions that black can block, either A or B. So most of the time, the great majority of the time, you're gonna be blocking at A. That's really important. Why? Because if you block at B, then it's just white is very comfortable. White is just gonna try to escape. Then you block. Let's follow one of the variations. This can go different ways, but let's imagine this. Now this stone ends up very close to this wall. So it's just not very efficient. Now white can also just push here once more, and now white doesn't even have to do this right now. And this is such a strong wall for such a close stone. Most of the time you're not going to want this unless your opponent your opponent is already strong in this area. There is no way of developing this area. Then you would choose to develop something here, but most of the time you're going to be blocking on the other side. Okay, so let's imagine you block here, and then white is going to have to make space for two eyes, right? So white plays here, and the trick here is because you already have a stone here with the large knight's move, you're going to want to keep that pressure really tight on white. So you immediately honey at the head of two stones, and white has to do the same honey because white has to look for space, a way to live. And then because you have this stone here, again, the large knight move stone, you can actually block here because this creates a tiger smut, and then you can block completely the side. Of course, there is a variation of this Joseki where you just do this, and white would just honey here, and you connect, and then white is alive, and white can take center. White doesn't even have to respond to this. So it's not as tight. You could go tighter here because you have this stone creating a tiger smut. Now, before white does anything else, white must Atari here. Why? Because we're going to see very soon, black has to connect because otherwise white escapes. And this creates a shortage of liberties in these two stones. And this is what's going to let white live in center. So let's see how that works. So now white is aiming at escaping. And black cannot really say, oh, I'm just going to capture this stone, because then white can say, okay, capture it. And then after this, white would just Atari, and then escape. And this is really good. White is completely out and even has potential on the side. So that's not very successful for black. So when white Atari is here, black has to block again. And now, white having two cutting points, white really needs to start seeing how to live. So the first thing white has to do is to connect here. Black still cannot try to kill white, because if black does this, same thing. You have to, if you Atari here, you kind of have to capture. Otherwise, if white gets to capture, white's completely alive. So black will have to capture, but then white can go out and exploit this cutting point. And then black is in Atari, black has to come out, but white can come out. And then this stone is pretty much captured. You're gonna see it's completely captured. So you're gonna see that it cannot escape. If black were to keep pushing like this, white just captures in a larger scale. But if black were to try to escape, this doesn't work because white can Atari here, black has to extend, white can Atari again, black has to extend, and then you capture at a bigger scale and are even out into the center. Not very good. So that means that black cannot really go for the capture yet because, again, of this cutting point at A. Instead of that, black has to connect. Black can connect either here or here. The most common thing is this one. There is a variation where white plays this tiger's mouth instead of this connection here. And in this case, black gets this Atari for free, and white can just simply connect. White doesn't have to fight a call here. White can simply connect. This is okay because there's still a cutting point at A, and it works exactly the same. If black tries to capture here, white would do exactly the same. Cut here and capture these two stones. So that means that black has to come back and protect. And after this, white can leave playing here. So this is alive, and black still has to come here. So it's pretty much the same. Doesn't matter where, if white plays this hanging connection or gets to play this one, it works the same. And now white has to leave. Why? Because now there is no cutting point for white to exploit and leave. So white has to leave. This is the most common response, but also this one. So any of these is good. Now you may be thinking, what happens if white plays away right here? Can black kill white? Does really white have to come back and play here to leave? Well, let's see what happens if white doesn't play there. Let's imagine white plays somewhere else. So black comes here, an Atari. And then white has to, counter Atari to be able to make something here. Black captures, but there's not enough space to leave. Get used to this shape. This is kind of a funny shape. And white is captured right now. There's nothing white can do. If white plays here, then black has to play here to spoil the two eyes, right? Otherwise, white would get to play here and make two eyes. So black has to play there. There is a vital point inside. And white needs to prevent this connection because this move would be a connection immediately. And then white would be left with without an eyes. So hold on. White would have to play here to prevent this connection, and then black takes the second eye. This is only one eye. So this is captured. And the same happens if white plays here, then black just plays here. This is just, there's no space for two eyes, only one eye. So now we know why it's important. When black protects here, there's no way for white to escape to the side anymore. Then white has to take this play to be able to leave in the corner. And the Joseki finishes by black capturing this cutting stone. This stone is actually very important because it's cutting these two groups, this A and B. And if you watch my last video, the first episode of how not to play Go, you saw why this is so important, because I show you in a game as an example. Because later, it doesn't have to be now, by the way, but later, white could do this, or it could even be now, and then suddenly black has two weak groups here that have to look for life independently. So white doesn't have to do it now. White can just go and play somewhere around here or in the other side, and when white's ready, white can pull out this stone and create two weak groups and attack severely black. So that means that black really has to capture this stone to finish the Joseki. Some people may think that this leads to a ladder, that black has to just do a ladder here, but this stone is actually completely captured. Regardless of any ladder, possible ladder breaker here, this stone is absolutely captured right now. It cannot escape. I'm going to show you why. So this is a really cool technique. It's actually a Tetsuji. When white tries to escape, black is simply going to net. And this net doesn't appear to work because there is an Atari here. And this Atari, it seems like it's not going to work because of this Atari. But let's see how this works. So white's going to cut, playing Atari. And then, of course, black has to connect. So because of this stone, white now can Atari to escape. So if you extend, then white escaped. And this is really bad because, again, these two groups are disconnected. And that's bad. So instead of that, instead of you extending, the Tetsuji is actually to Atari and exploit the shortage of liberties of white. So you Atari here, and white has to capture, and then you Atari again, and white has to capture, and then you add Tari here, and white's capture. White cannot escape. So this is a really cool technique. It's called in English the shortage of liberties, and in Korean I think it's called something like the tornado. At least that's what I heard from Myung-Won Kim, the 9-dan professional that used to host some videos. I used to comment on some videos in the AGA channel, and I can totally see it as how you call it, as a tornado. I don't know if you see it, but to me it's really, really clear. It's kind of like, yeah, it just goes around and around, like kind of spinning. But anyway, regardless of the name, this stone is completely captured, and this finishes the Joseki. That means that white keeps Sente to play wherever she wants to. And notice how important it is to have this stone now, because black has to come back and capture it, and white finishes the Joseki in Sente. If white had already a stone here, sorry, not this one, but actually this one, and white wanted to reduce this potential, white could reduce it by playing here, of course, or white could go as far as, where do you think so? As far as here. Here, and you may ask, well, why there and not here? Well, it is because if you go all the way here, this is very close to thickness, then black may invade here. Let's imagine black invades here, and then there's not enough space for making a base comfortably. Remember, a base on the third line is a 2-space jump to the side where you have space. You have at least one space. So this doesn't count as a base because you have no space here. So if you play here and black invades, you actually get to make a base. You have a 2-space jump and you have space on both sides. So to make a quick summary of this Joseki, when white invades, the most normal direction of play is this one. You're welcoming white to invade, and you're wanting to take the outside because probably you're strong in the outside. And then, white has to go for life. And because you have this stone, you can put pressure and actually even block here with the tiger snout. White, it's very important that white cuts to be able to leave in Sente and aims at escaping to the side. When black blocks, white has to look for life, and she can do so in Sente because there is this cutting point. So black has to protect the cutting point, and now it's white's turn to leave because there's no more escape, and the Joseki finishes with black capturing this stone, and it's white's turn to play anywhere in the board. So white came in, invaded, and has Sente at the end. White has a small corner, and in exchange, black has thickness towards the sides and the center. Okay, I hope this is clear. See you next time.